I am so glad to be here. I really am. I mean, this is just such an incredible community of people, such thoughtfulness and contribution and accomplishment and kindness. So I feel very privileged and at home and warm and honored to be here. And so excited to be talking about intimacy and the intimacy journey. Um, as one of the great journeys of our lives. So I would like to start with an opening exercise, a centering and also kind of guiding initial process. Um, so if everybody could just close their eyes and just let yourself just take a few breaths and relax into your body. And acknowledge yourself for being here. And also, I would encourage you to acknowledge yourself for how much you care about intimacy, how much you're longing for intimacy and your passion and caring about intimacy and loss of intimacy and finding intimacy and growing intimacy has guided your life. And just acknowledge yourself for how deeply important love has been to you and is to you. So we're just going to do a short process that's very lovely. And it's going to be of it's going to be a process that is going to help connect you with a kind of guiding spirit of intimacy for you. So, what I'd like you to do is just think of someone in your life who taught you about love, taught you deeply about love. And I would ask that it be someone who, when you think of them today, that you still feel like they are people you feel safe with, someone you feel safe with, whether they're alive or not, someone with whom you still have a good feeling in your heart. Someone who really taught you about love and what love means and what love feels like in your life. And you could just picture whoever comes to you right now, who was kind of an intimacy hero for you, someone who taught you about love, made you feel love, made you feel the love inside yourself. And just picture that person. Maybe it's a pet, maybe it's a spiritual figure, maybe it's someone who was in your life or someone who is in your life. And just picture that person and the feeling that they evoke in you and what they taught you about love. Just think for a moment about what they taught you about love. Just kind of try to put words on that inside yourself. The gift that they gave you in your own learning about love and what it means and what it feels like. And just take a moment to think how you would articulate that, like what you would say about what they taught you about love. And just hold that to your heart, that message, that feeling, as a treasure of your life, a treasure of your intimacy journey. Picture this being's face and picture what you feel like or what you felt like when you were with them. Just hold that to your heart. And now I would like to ask that everyone be muted. I think everyone is muted. Let's mute us too, the staff, and not me yet. um, and what I want to ask you to do is speak to this person. Nobody can hear you. And I just want you to speak out loud or whisper what you thank them for and what they gave you. And we're just going to start with it. You're just going to hold them to your heart and you're going to put words on what they gave you. And you're just going to thank them for that. And we'll just take about a minute to do that. So I'm going to mute myself too, and we're all muted, and you can all speak freely. Nobody could hear you. And you can speak to this person and just thank them for what they gave you and taught you. And just take another moment or two. And come back. Slowly open your eyes. So all of our journeys, all of our intimacy journeys are so unique and so personal. And I heard the Dalai Lama speak once, and I remember him saying, just keep a warm spot in your heart. That was his practice. Just keep a warm spot in your heart. So I just want to invite all of us to keep the warm spot of this guiding light in our heart in a gentle way, just as we continue our journey together in this talk.
Beautiful, Ken. Thank you.
Mm.
Gosh, where to start? Ken, I want to start somewhere a little bit unexpected, but I feel like we're in unexpected times.
Mm.
And I just want to talk about love in a time where there is a lot of fear and there's a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of pain in the world, and shame, and just really call on you, just to share any thoughts that you're having for yourself right now and that you might want to share with this community about love and the centrality of love as we face what we face individually, and as a nation.
Mm. Mm. Thanks, Jeff. I'm just going to take a minute to think about that. I think heartbreak. I think I'm going to talk less about less directly about what's happening in the country and more about suffering and love and pain and love. And I just think that the landscape of love is full of suffering. And, you know, trying to think who said this now. My mind is drawing a blank. But one of the great poets, who I can't believe I'm forgetting his name now, he said that we're here for just a bit of time to learn to bear the beams of love. And it's not easy to bear the beams of love. And I think that there's this presentation about love that it doesn't involve suffering. For me, one of the most important key points in my intimacy journey is all the ways I have not been able to love, all the moments that I was not able to love like I wanted, all the fears and the sadness of not being able to have or give or share the love that I want. And those have been my portals to learning to love. So, You know, people tell us that fear of intimacy is kind of a pathology, but it's not. If we're breathing, we have fear of intimacy. And the question is not, do we have fear of intimacy? Do we have problems loving? The question is, how much humanity can we hold that fear with? How much humanity can we hold our broken points with? And the places we can't love yet, and we don't know how to speak yet, or we feel frozen inside, or we feel traumatized, or we don't have compassion. And so I want to reframe this journey to say that it's so much a journey of not being able to love and all the learning that happens with that, that our greatest learning happens there. You know, they say that love is a journey of rupture and repair. It's a constant process of rupture and repair. And I think that's deeply true. And I think our country, I will say this, is at such a point of rupture. And I have to say something else too. I think that in my work as a therapist and a coach, working with people who are in intimate relationships and trying to grow in terms of their consciousness, the biggest stuck point that I have seen is people becoming enamored of someone who can't love them or hurts them or isn't present or doesn't have enough integrity. And I think that Donald Trump is teaching us one of the greatest lessons of love that there is, which is how deeply attractive narcissism is, how deeply attractive a kind of sickness is, a kind of superiority, and how we can fall for that. And just this huge, huge journey of learning to discriminate, because half the country does not see this. This amazing, amazing thing, half the country does not see this malignant and toxic and horrifying being who is guiding us into hell. So this happens in relationships all the time. And I just want to acknowledge the power and the importance of learning discrimination. My friend, who is the advice columnist of Psychology Today, says that there are three qualities that we have to look for in a relationship and in a partner. And those are character, character, and character. So I just want to bring up that point that discrimination is just such a hugely important thing. And the lack of discrimination leads to indescribable pain.
Ken, I get to throw you under the bus like that because I've known you since my very first day at the academy. You and I were in a cohort together, correct?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
We were in the very first cohort in Maya Angelou, which is kind of crazy
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
to it. And you were in my very first dyad, and we talked about first loves.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember, and how we kind of came across our first loves and the story of our first love. So yeah, you and I have a long history about talking about love together.
And in our last day together, our
Yeah.
talk too. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm incredibly grateful that you joined us today.
Mm.
Um, I feel like you've been on an incredible transitional journey yourself, right? When I first met you at the academy, you'd written your deeper dating book. You were practicing psychotherapist, but you were also looking on to go on this journey as an entrepreneur and start something completely different and kind of inhabit a different role with your partner Greg in the world. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that journey, both leading up to a couple of years ago when we met and then since then?
I would love to. I'd love to. Well, I would say my journey about love has been a combination. It's been a both. It's been first a reckoning with myself and seeing the ways that I didn't know how to love, and becoming a student of my stuck points in love. And then the other has been a celebration of what love looks like and what love feels like. And that's something I'm excited to talk about a little bit later, because I think that the great questions around love are what hurts my heart and what fills my heart. And we give those questions short shrift. But in our day-to-day life, if we walk around thinking, what hurts my heart? And then we don't tell ourselves I'm being too sensitive. We learn to honor that. And if we tell ourselves what fills my heart and look at that and celebrate that and dive into that, that's really the path. So for me, I guess I'll just say something about the deeper dating event that is going to be coming up on Friday and how that relates. So Frederick Laboyer was this brilliant physician who wrote a book called Birth Without Violence. It's the most exquisite book, and his work is so exquisite. And his concept was, why does birth have to include violence? Why do we have to slap a baby to make them breathe? Why does their first breath have to be traumatic? And so what he would do is he developed this path where the baby would keep the umbilical cord attached, and the baby would be placed in warm water that simulated the womb and stroked and held. And you watch videos of these babies breathing, and they look like exquisite Buddhas. Their first breath is so peaceful, so non-traumatic. And it made me think, what about dating without violence? Dating is such a violent and unkind and disrespectful process. There's so little love and there's so little care around something that's so exquisitely important. And so I thought, what about dating with kindness? What about dating with respect and care? What about the kind of dating that I am looking for as someone who at that point had been what I called chronically single for decades? So I created this in-person event, Deeper Dating, which is an event based on kindness for people who share deeper values. And the event kind of had an explosive response. People loved it because it was positive and it was inspiring. And then I moved away from that because my intimacy journey as a single person called me to become a father. And I adopted my son as a single dad from Cambodia as a baby. And it made me think, like, what about all of us who can't get out a million times to meet people? What would be my dream event? So I created Deeper Dating. And then it became kind of too demanding. I wasn't at home enough, so I started writing. And I wrote my book. I created the Deeper Dating podcast, and I tried to put this journey together. I began it as someone who was single and pretty damn embarrassed that I was writing a book on love when I had been chronically single for decades. But I trusted what I was learning. And by the time the book came out, I was in a relationship with my husband, who's right there, Greg. And he helped me with the book, and we blended our families together. And then I dreamed of doing these deeper dating events online. And that was a huge journey, and would never have happened without Greg, because we worked together and he put the entire platform together. And it's a platform based on love and respect and inspiration. And we're going to be doing an event for the community on Friday. But that's been very exciting. And amazingly, we have gotten, as we've been launching, responses from the top apps in the world that have been saying to us, we need what you're teaching. We all have been, because the simple concept has been missed, which is, if you want to create intimacy, you need to start with an intimate environment. You need to be able to be in an environment that's safe and kind and caring. How has no one figured that out? So, that's what we've created with this event. And we're very excited and feel so appreciative of MEA that you've invited us to talk about this and share it.
Can you use there's a sort of a bunch of key words in your kind of your worldview and your philosophy. Talk to me about intimacy. Talk to me about this intimacy journey that you often reference.
Yes, I'd love to. So here's a really simple image that I would invite all of us to work with. And the image is a target. So if you just picture a target and you picture that there are just a few rings in that target, and let's say that the closer you get into the center of that target, the closer you get to the beating heart of your humanity, to the place you love from, to your vulnerability, to your humanity. to your truth, to your authenticity. And the truth is that the closer we get to that, the greater the risk becomes. Because the more authentic we become, the more we feel our grief, the more we feel our vastness. And vastness, including vastness and joy, is almost just as scary as vastness of pain. The more we go to the center, the more we feel our originality, the more we feel our creativity, and the scarier it gets, and the harder it is to bear the size of our humanity. And so it's a journey. You don't just pop into the center of authenticity. It's a hero's journey. And that's the journey of intimacy. So if you picture that center bullseye, the bullseye is the truest self. You might call that your enlightened self. And then just picture a ring around that, the first ring. And I call that the gift zone. That's the place where we are warmed, where we have that warm place inside, where we're holding, and you all know what that feels like. You can think of so many times in your life when you have felt the warmth of your humanity with a sense of compassion and care. You have felt the beating heart of your humanity. That's what I call the gift zone. When we're in that zone, we will feel sadness, we will feel bewilderment, we will feel joy, we will feel magic. But when we're there, we are permeable to love. We are permeable to the winds of inspiration. We're lit from within in this place. And you don't have to be right in the center. God knows, the center of the center is very, very fierce, very vast. It's enlightenment. That's not easy to come by. But as long as you're just kind of like if you picture lying next to someone you love and you're sleeping, but you can sense their shoulder touching your shoulder. If you're just even skin to skin with yourself in that way, you're in a kind of magical zone. Different things will happen. Your creativity will be alive, your availability to intimacy will be alive. And that's what we want to do. We want to live as much as we can in the warmth and the heat of our gift zone. And then if you picture the next ring out, let's call that the zone of protection. That's when we're numb. That's when we are. I read this wonderful thing on Instagram. Somebody said at the beginning of the COVID kind of social isolation, she said, day one, I've committed to eating beautifully, to exercising, and to living my best life. And then she said, day 10, for personal reasons, I am now eating lasagna in the shower. And I really related to that. So the zone of protection is eating lasagna in the shower. The zone of protection is going numb. It's workaholism. It's, as you get further out, it's using substances to disconnect from yourself. The further out you get, now the zone of protection feels good because you're not feeling this sharp and deep aching aliveness of your humanity. But it also numbs us to our beauty and our power and our genius. The next zone out is the zone of disconnection. And that's a very empty place. And all of us know what that place feels like. So if you picture this target, this can become a simple map for your entire intimacy journey. And there's a gorgeous process that you can do. And it's one of the processes that I wanted to teach. It's called the intimacy fix. And it's really simple. So we can do it right now. We can do it right now. I can do it with you right now. So I'd like you to just imagine this target. The gift zone is that center circle. Then the next circle out is the zone of protection. The next circle out is the zone of disconnection. Further out you get, the less connected you are to the beautiful, beautiful warmth of your humanity. The further in you get, the closer you are. So and when you're in the gift zone, you're kind of in connection with that. So I'd like you to just take a minute, just close your eyes and just place yourself on that target just at this moment with no judgment, no evaluation, just a simple noticing. Where am I? Am I connected to the beauty of my humanity? Am I in the gift zone? Where would I be in the gift zone at this moment? Am I in the zone of protection? Am I in the zone of disconnection? And just kind of just put a little pin like where you are right now. And wherever you are, I want you to start by acknowledging your closeness to the center. Even if you're further out than you wish you would be, I would just like you to just recognize the center and recognize the ways that you're not disconnected. Because one of the miracles of the intimacy journey is that there are different strata. On one level, we might feel really disconnected, and at another level, we're so close to love. And sometimes when we're most close to love, we feel most disconnected. So just recognize where you are. And then I'd like you to think for a moment, what could I do at this moment to scooch on in just a little bit to the center? What could I do to place myself closer to the magnificence of my core gifts? Maybe it's a shift inside. Maybe it's a moving your body. Maybe it's just a change in your heart. Maybe it's something that you're going to commit to doing. But just take a minute and just notice, what could you do that could just move you homeopathically a drop closer to the center? And just feel that and picture that. And if you can, inside yourself, just allow yourself to do that. We have such capacity for this. And just notice how that feels. And just take a minute to just hold this and just feel the ripples. And just take a breath in, exhale, and let it go. And this is an intimacy tool that we can do as often as we want. And it's a tool that really connects us to our genius. And I just want to say one other thing about that, which is the truth that we get taught, the kind of exoteric, obvious truth that we get taught about life, is that we're trying to get away from sadness and move toward joy and meaning and fulfillment and success. But the esoteric truth, the kind of secret truth, is that joy and vastness is easily as scary as as pain and suffering. And so Jung said that all neurosis is a flight from suffering. And that's true, but also a lot of neurosis is a flight from joy. And our life task partly is learning to bear the beams of joy. That's in a way our deeper life task is to do just what we did right now, to just move closer to the heat and the truth and the authenticity of love inside ourselves. That's a kind of act of micro heroism in our intimacy journey.
Kind of got stuck on the lasagna piece. That sounds good to me. Um, as you were sort of stepping us through that exercise, this idea that you could actually almost sort of self-guide.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of the ideas in your book and in a lot of your work is this sort of the inner mentor. Can you talk us through, is that kind of what an inner mentor is, or is there something else that you're pointing at?
No, the inner mentor is a beautiful process. It is like my favorite practice in the world. I love it. I adore it. I think I'd rather wait just a little bit before doing it because I think I want to leave room for kind of people to just, let the ripples of the one we just did to pass. So a little bit later, maybe even during Q&A, I'll come back to that.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so then the next thought I wanted to sort of talk about is this is a distinct population, right? It's the Modern Elder Academy group and friends. For many of us, we're sort of looking at deepening our own intimacy journeys or our love journeys at a later stage in our lives. Is that a different journey, that intimacy journey in your third act or second love?
Mm.
How does it differ? What's your experience there?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So much around that. I just want to take a minute and think. Well, I think that for many of us, we've experienced a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartache, and a lot of car crashes around love by this point. Um, I think that for many of us, not all of us, but for many of us, that kind of wildly urgent sexual fire that makes us really lose our perspective has dimmed enough that we can do the great act of better choosing, which is to not just look for attraction, but to look for inspiration. And to put inspiration on at least as high a point. And a little drop of a digression, this is a question that I think is like the best, most lovely. It's kind of the crown jewel question in the search for love for those of us that, are kind of willing to take it on. And it's this: does my soul feel safe with this person? That's the question. And when we make that our essential question, sexual attraction totally has to be there. I'm not at all saying it doesn't. But when that becomes the question, does my soul feel safe with this person? We realign, we dignify the essence of our being, and we choose differently. Not only do we choose differently, but our field shifts. And this is like an amazing thing. And I think that as we grow older and we gain more wisdom, the journey that I take people through in deeper dating, which applies to people who are looking for a relationship or who are in one already, or any step in between. The first stage is the recognition and the discovery of our core gifts. And our core gifts are the things that live in the center of their target, of this target. They're the places we feel the most deeply and intensely. And I won't go into this piece that much here. I do in many other places, my podcast, my book, my course. But our deepest pain and our deepest insecurities surround our core gifts, because they're the places that where our greatness lies, and greatness is not easy to bear. Genius is not easy to bear. Fierceness is not easy to bear. They're the places where the most passionate and the most sensitive. Hence, the places where we have gotten in the most trouble. And but those are the places that need to be rehonored and reclaimed. And I think that's what we are in the process of doing. Chip has talked about, at this point in our lives, building a new home. You don't want to build on new wings to an old center. You want to create a new center. So if what the old home that we've created was kind of hiding the power and the authenticity of our core gifts, and then trying to airbrush ourselves to find love, that's the old home. The new home of intimacy is that the center of our home is that gift circle. It's our core gifts, it's our authenticity. And when we build out from there by saying, I only want to be with people with whom those parts feel treasured, imperfectly treasured maybe, but essentially treasured. When we do that, we have a whole new home. It shifts our entire intimacy journey. And this is a kind of piece of magic, I think, that is really true. And it's something I have seen countless times. When we do that, when we honor what's at the center and we build our home from there, the people we're attracted to and the people who are attracted to us actually change. And the relationships that we're in begin to change too. And it's an act of bravery. It's scary. But one other wonderful thing about it is, like flies are attracted to light or moths are attracted to light, Eros is attracted to that scariness, because Eros is a spark that needs to jump a gap. And so when we become that, we connect to our erotic self in all of its beautiful dimensions as well. Romance loves that edge of authenticity if it's held with kindness. So that's a kind of separate point. But I think that as we grow older, we're able to build a house based on that center, and that changes everything.
So we talk a lot at the Academy about mindsets and shifting our mindsets about ourselves, perhaps about how we think the world might see us, and so on. And you talked at the beginning of the call, I forget the exact term you used, but about being sort of chronically single. I forget exactly what.
Yes.
Um, how do you shift your mindset from that person to finding that new center? What are the sort of the practical tools? What are the ways that you can check yourself and find that new center?
Okay, so I'm going to go from the meta to the specific. So the meta is this. This is something that I say often, is that we are taught to kind of be a little bit ashamed of our longing for love. Like it's a weakness, like, we're supposed to be just fine on our own. And if we find someone great, I mean, for most of us, that's just bullshit. For me, that absolutely was bullshit. That did not work. I needed to love myself and have love. I could only learn to love myself with the help of people who loved me when I couldn't love myself. So I want to say that the first thing that I think we need to do is to honor our longing for love and the pain in that, the tears in that, the sadness in the love that we've lost, the sadness for the love we haven't been able to hold. The desire and the longing for love is our rocket fuel that gets us out of the gravity zone of our selfish protection and those behaviors that push love away. The longing for love burns and it's rocket fuel. So that's what I want to say first is that, the parts of us that hurt that we don't have enough love, those parts are gold. Those are that's our hero, that part of ourselves that hurts because we want more love. The part of us that feels sad at the ways we've missed the moments of love that we could have held on to in our lives. That's the great part of us. So I want to say that first. Then I think, so with that, then I think we need to learn different skills, a whole new set of skills. I actually created a support group at one point for chronically single psychotherapists because, there are a lot of us and it was wonderful. It was so healing because we just helped each other on our journey. And I think that the second thing that we need is a path that makes sense to us, a kind of template for how growth happens around intimacy that makes sense to us. And there are so many of them out there, so many of them out there. I mean, I could just go on. The Gottmans and their work with intimacy, Harville Hendricks' magnificent imago therapy. In terms of self-love, Margaret Paul. Um, in terms of finding a relationship, Catherine Woodward Thomas, my work, Deeper Dating. So I think the first thing is to kind of find a path that really rings true to you, whatever that path is. And then the second thing is to follow that path with support. So there's this great book by Alan Deutschman. It's called Change or Die. And what he did was he took a number of people who had coronary events and were told unequivocally by their doctor that if they didn't change their diet, they would die. They would die. So as you can imagine, I think 90 or 95% of those who passionately had committed to change their diet couldn't do it. They went back to their old ways of eating. So even though they knew they were going to die. So this is the power of habit. This is the power of our wiring. So he looked at those 5% of people that were able to truly change their diet. And what he discovered is that they had a template for how they could grow. And then they had a community in which they could repeatedly fail, reflect, and rewire. So I think all of us need that. We need that kind of path. And in fact, I am holding and I'm going to be holding events for people that want to do deeper dating with a learning partner, because I believe so deeply in having a learning partner. So I think these are the keys. And I think that another key is kind of finding your inner guidance, because all of us have voices inside us all the time. One of the Sufi definitions of God is the spirit of guidance. So being able to find and connect to your own inner sense of guidance is a very powerful process. And that's the inner mentor process. And I could share that with everybody.
Please do.
I'd love to. Okay, so this is great. I do this one every day, every day. And my mom, who's an amazing person, she's a 90-year-old street artist, activist. Every day we call each other on the phone and we share our inner mentor message with each other. Um, okay, so what I'd like you to do for this process is to just get out a paper and pen or a journal. So take a minute, get that. And I think what we talked about was a lot. So I would just like to ask people to just take a moment and just kind of like move around in your seat, just sway a little bit, maybe stretch, take a breath, because there were so many rich, rich things that we talked about that we kind of need to move them through our system a little bit. So just take a minute, just stretch a little, take a breath or two, come back to your body. Okay. So this is a process that's going to take about 5 minutes. But when you learn it, you'll be able to do it super, super quickly in just moments. And it's kind of, this is what's amazing about it to me, is that I have a very highly active inner critic. Um, and so this process bypasses my inner critic and brings me to a loving, wise self. How it does it, I don't know, but it does. And I think you'll find the same thing. So, what I'd like you to do, you just have your paper and pen ready. I'd like you to close your eyes and just take a breath. And I'd like you to just remember a moment in your life that you felt very, very connected to love and warmth and safety. Just one moment that you felt those fabulous, good things. And just remember how that felt in your body, what that tasted like for you in your being. And just hold that to your heart in a gentle way. Just take a breath in and just let that go. Let that be. Exhale. And now I'd like you to remember a time that you felt like really comfortable in your own skin. Just any time that you felt really comfortable in your own skin, just not against yourself, just really with yourself in your own skin. And remember how good that felt and what that felt like and the taste of that, because it's so uniquely you. It's like the you you're meant to be. So just remember the taste in your body and in your being self of that. Just be with that. Take a breath in, exhale, and just let that be. And now remember a time that you felt very kind of empowered in a positive, constructive way in your life, where you just felt aligned with your own capacity and your own competence. Just a time that happened naturally. Like that good feeling of really just being you, but being able to handle things. Just remember that feeling. You don't have to make any of these feelings any bigger than they are. Just let them be and just kind of taste those tastes of being so right in you. Good. So now I'd like you to picture a you that like is so embodied in that self. This is the you you're meant to be. This is like the evolved, this is the enlightened you. This is you enlightened as you, with laughter, with joy, with goodness, with clarity, with simplicity. It's the you you've always known you're meant to be. It's the you on the other side of all your inner glass ceilings. Just picture that free you. Picture him or her or them. What this person might be wearing, how they look, and what their face shows. Like picture the face of that you, the eyes of that you. Just picture that gently. This you that you're born to be, meant to be. And now we're going to do a little visualization exercise. Just imagine you jump into that being. You don't have to earn this. You don't have to get there. This is like method acting. You just become the character. So just imagine that you have now stepped into that self that is this fully embodied you. And in a way, you don't have to imagine it because you kind of know what that tastes like. So just imagine that now you are in that you. And from this wonderful place of you, I want you to look at the you of today. Struggling, trying to grow, growing, creating. From this fabulous, fabulous place of like being the perfect parent, the evolved, enlightened you, look at the you of today and think, what do I most want to say? What guidance do I most want to call out and share? Like a loving parent that looks at their child who's kind of struggling with something and like forms the words that you most want to say, that really sees this being and gives them guidance. And now just write a little letter from this place to the you of today. But stay in that stream of being this you and let the words just kind of pour out. And do that right now. Just take a few minutes to do that. Take another full minute, knowing you can come back to this. Okay, so just put your pens down, again, knowing you can come back to this. And close your eyes for one more moment and go back to being this awesome, amazing, evolved older brother, older sister, enlightened you. And just kind of imagine opening your arms and taking the you of today into your arms. And now you get this great embrace because you're both the you of today and the you that you dream of becoming, holding each other. And every time you do this process, you will become closer in relationship to that you. You will gradually become bonded more and more, and you'll become that you more and more. So just enjoy that feeling. hold that to your heart and slowly come back to open your eyes. You can do this every day, and this can become your daily meditation. You couldn't do better than this guidance. And you can also do it super quick. Now you have that picture of you. You could just picture that you, become it, give out a message. The process could take 10 seconds, and you will almost always get something amazing. And that's, one of the greatest guides for your intimacy journey.
Mm. That was lovely, Ken.
Thank you.
Um, I want to switch gears a little bit because we only have 5 or 6 minutes left. And I want to sort of talk about what are we going to experience if we sign up for this online experience with you?
Oh, sure. So you will see Greg and I at this event if you sign on. Well, here's what happens. This is the kind of environment that we've created. What we tried to do for Deeper Dating is create an environment that incubates closeness, warmth, and safety and inspiration from beginning to end. We are still beginning this, and we're deeply open to feedback and guidance. So here's what would happen. You would sign on to the link, and we're going to give you this link. And then you'd go to our platform and you would fill out a profile. And it's a profile that helps you kind of express your deepest values and passions, your core gift kind of places. And it kind of captures you in lots of different ways. There's a little video that I kind of teach and help with that. And then once you've done that, you get a link to the event, which is going to be this Friday, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. And then you sign on about 10 minutes early. You get there. I'll be there. Greg will be there kind of helping with all of the tech. I'll be there and I'll give a brief talk. And then all of this community will be breaking up into small groups. And I give you lots of questions, which are kind of fun, inspiring thought, real MEA kind of questions, and you'll get to answer those questions in your breakout groups. Because of this amazing algorithm Greg has created, every breakout group will be optimized so that you'll be with the people who share the most of your values and interests and passions. So it's a way to meet tribe members and friends as well. And because this event is not demographically segmented, it's not for lesbians who are 40s and above in San Francisco. It's for everybody in this community. This is going to be more like a creating friendship, creating tribe, but everyone here is going to be single. So you can create learning partner relationships. You can have a community. There's a forum where everybody can share. And you might meet people that you're interested in that you can kind of develop a connection with. So you go through this experience of meeting all these different people, answering these fun questions. And then when that's over, you get another link, and that's to the community, the MEA Alumni Single Deeper Dating Community. And everybody's profile is going to be there, and you'll have all the time that you want to instant message each other, to video chat with each other, to share as a community in the forum. It's just a warm and open environment for people to connect, share, and see what happens. Greg, did I leave anything out?
No. Oh, yeah, no, I think that was a good
Okay,
description.
good.
Can we invite other people? So from our friendship groups or, a broader community, or does it only have to be MEA people?
Oh, no, that would be wonderful. I just want people to be single. I just want people to be single for this so people aren't disappointed. So it's going to be in the Facebook group. We are going to put up the link here, and the event is going to last, yes, it's almost all women here, and I'll say something about that in a minute. So we're going to give the link right now in the chat box. Could we do that? Could we put the link in the chat box?
Deeperdating.com, right? And the landing page is there? Or
Oh yeah, that's all you need to do is go to deeperdating.com. Right. We just fixed that to make it easy. Deeperdating.com. That's it.
Yeah, so the landing page will have a link to register for the call, and then you'll also have the profile to fill out. How long would you say, Ken, how many questions, to fill out the profile?
Let's say 15 minutes.
And
Say
then
15 minutes.
how long, more or less? People are curious.
I'm sorry, say that again.
How long will the whole event be?
It will be about an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
a couple of hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it will be, you'll leave feeling inspired. Here's what I want to say. Guys, please sign up because we can only take the first 40 people. The event's going to be closed after that. Conceivably, if you want to, and if we decide to do that, we can do other ones in the future. But for now, this is the one that we have planned, and we can only take 40 people. So if you sign up, please show up. That's, that we would ask because your spot, won't be available to anyone else. And I want to say, that there are going to be people of all different orientations, gender identities. So, but it will be mostly women because the community is mostly women. Please reserve the first 20 spots for men, LOL. That is a great idea. And we are working on the tech to do that and should have it shortly, but we don't have it yet. So guys, sign up quick.
Guys, sign up. But also, if you have friends who are single, but perhaps not for you, maybe
Oh, please.
come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. I think that inspirational events, people get kind of like embarrassed, like dating events lack humanity, humanity events lack dating. So this is a humanity event that includes dating. So, that's really what we're trying to do here.
Very wonderful. Ken, we are fresh out of time. I've really enjoyed seeing you and your face and wonderful, wonderful advice and wonderful thoughts. I needed some poetry today, so thank you for bringing it. Leslie, any closing words or thoughts from you?
I just loved that. And again, I recommend your book to anybody, whether you're in a relationship or not. I've learned so much from this book on the core gifts, on looking for inspiration. Really enjoyed today and loved having everybody on this call. So if you guys want to unmute to say goodbye, please do, and we'll see you Friday.
Oh, Leslie, can I just say one thing really quick? Thanks. So if you go to deeperdatingpodcast.com, I've got all of this in talking, and also that's a place where you could download the first 2 chapters of the book, which is the part where you learn how to discover your core gifts. So just to say that to you.
Thank you for that. And this has been recorded, so we will share this recording with all of you that want to listen
Thank you,
again.
Ken. Thank you.
Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
It was great. Love you guys.
Miss you.
Thank
Jeff, I
you.
thought you were going to call me yesterday.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, you guys.
Jeff, go write some poetry.
I'm good.
Bye.
Buddy.
Bye.
See you. Bye. See you Friday.
Take care, gang. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you so much, Greg.
Oh, thanks, folks.
Bye.
This was a joy. Bye-bye.
Bye.